Hello, everyone. Uh, it's been a smooth ride since we started AWS. Today will be the third video on AWS, and I want to say a good day to every one of us, wherever we're watching from. Okay, so like we used to do, you can type your name and you can type where you're watching from, and then, of course, you can say, I am here, I am here, I am present. All right. So last time we talked about cost, account creation, not cost, account creation. And then today we would be talking about Amazon EC2, Amazon EC2. And that's compute. If you remember, we talked about all kinds of services the other time, and then we actually uh, we really, I think we really touched, uh, the most important area that needed to be touched. Except you want to do further reading, we can always, drop the, materials in the WhatsApp group. If you want to join the WhatsApp group, you can just, if you're not in the WhatsApp group, you can just, signify in the comment section, not the live chat, the comment section, so that I can always see it there. So you can signify in the comment section. But then, of course, we can always drop the materials, and even the materials are online. Okay. So, but then the most important thing is to get on with the practical so that we can really understand what we are talking about. So today we'll be diving right into the topic, which is Amazon EC2 instance. All right, so I believe we are seeing my screen, and then I would move right into the topic. All right, so Amazon EC2 instance, Amazon EC2 instance, EC2 means E, then CC, and that CC is compute cloud. So Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, that's the full meaning of EC2. So Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud EC2 provides on-demand, scalable computing capacity in the Amazon Web Service Cloud. You know, using Amazon EC2 reduces hardware costs so that you can develop and deploy applications faster. So you can use EC2 instance to launch as many or as few virtual servers as you need, configure security and networking, and manage storage. You can add capacity, that is scale up. You can obviously also scale down. Okay, so EC2 instance is a virtual server in AWS cloud. So it is just like another, it's a computer, but then this time in the cloud. Okay, and then when you launch an EC2 instance, the instance type that you specify determines the hardware available to your instance. So we have all types of instances, all kinds of EC2 instances. So depending on the one you select, we have the Ubuntu, we have the Windows Server, we have the Windows 11, we have all kinds of Ubuntu. We have all kinds of EC2 instances. All right. So each instances offer a different balance of compute, memory, network, and storage. Resources. When you opt for Ubuntu, you already know that you're opting for a Linux system, which is more of a command line. But then when you opt in for a Windows 11, you already know you'd get a GUI, graphical user interface, where you can log in through RDP, that's remote desktop, and then you can be able to do whatever you want to do, just like your normal PC. So EC2 instance is just a PC right there in the cloud. So a replica of a PC, a normal PC that you use inside the cloud. So you can just decide to choose, whatever style you want. And then these are the things that These are like the components of the EC2 instance. The EC2 instance have different, it has compute power, it has memory, space, like you can select the capacity, you can check, you can, everything is tweaking, you can tweakable, you can tweak it, and then it has storage resources. You can also expand or choose any kind of storage that you want. Okay, so that is it. So features of EC2 instance. EC2 instance provides the following high-level features. We have instances, we have virtual server, we have virtual machine image. So because they are, like something like they are almost like operating systems. So there's something called images. So the image is what we're not talking about. It is what we're now talking about now. Pre-configured template for your instances that package the components you need for your server, including the operating system and additional software. That's what it's called, image. So image is like a package that makes it available, right, for you, that makes it available for you. So, instances type, various configuration of CPU. We said all that earlier, even storage, memory, networking capacity. We have graphics hardware for your instances. All right. So, and then there's something called, we have Amazon EBS volume. That's Elastic Block Store. So it's a persistent storage volume for your data using your EBS, right? Instance store volume, storage volume for temporary data that is deleted when you stop, hibernate or terminate your instance. So there is another, storage volume for temporary data when you say, oh, I'm not using this machine anymore. There is keep here. Keep here is a secure login information. So these are the things we should familiarize ourselves with when talking about EC2 instance, because we're going to be using all these stops. Okay. Keep here is a secure login information for your instance. AWS stores the public key, and then you can store the private key in a secure place. So there is the public key, and there is what, the private key. So it depends on whatever you're trying to do. That's what would actually help us to know what exactly we need. And then you can see security group. If security group is a virtual firewall that allows you to specify the protocol, the port, the source IP ranges that can reach your instance, and destination IP to which your instance can connect. So you can actually specify the networking style, what and what can connect to your EC2 instances. And then these are the services that you can actually use together with your EC2 instances. We have EC2 auto scaling, ensures you have the correct number of instances available to handle the load for your application. So most times there's something called redundancy. Redundancy is when you have like another instance that is just there redundant, and then it's not doing anything, but it automatically picks up when the current instance fails. So it has a duplicated, it's like a duplicated instance waiting for when there is a mess up, right? So, and trust me, it depends on the kind of organization you're running. You wouldn't expect a big company to, or a big organization to get a mess up, right? Once there's a mess up, the next machine picks up, and it will be so seamless that you almost not know that there is a problem. So that's what's called auto scaling. Then we have backup, automate backing up your EC2 instances and the Amazon EBS, that is Elastic Block Storage Volume, attached to them. Then there's another thing, you can also use CloudWatch. CloudWatch is used to monitor your instances and Amazon EBS volume. So you need to know, familiarize yourself with all these things, and that's why we're mentioning them. We're not just going into practical. We also need to familiarize ourselves so that when we start talking or mentioning all these things, then you would easily relate, right? Elastic load balancing means automatically distribute incoming application traffic across multiple instances. So let's assume that you're running an e-commerce shop, e-commerce website. Once it is probably, let's say, maybe a Black Friday, there is a tendency of having a surge of traffic. So once the traffic is larger than normal, the ability of the EC2 instance to be able to distribute that incoming app traffic across multiple instances, so it will quickly distribute it so as to balance the load. That is what we call elastic load balancing, ELB. There's something called Amazon Guard Duty. It detects potential unauthorized or malicious use of your EC2 instance. These are things that you are supposed to suggest to companies, because sometimes companies tend to neglect all this and feels like it's not important. But you, as a DevOps or as a cloud engineer, you are the one to let the company know that, look, we need a guard duty, we need a cloud watch, we need all these things, we need a load balancer just to make sure that everything is working fine. Then we have EC2 image reader, it's builder, uh, it automates the creation, management and deployment of customized, secure, and up-to-date server images. Okay, so it actually helps to automate the creation of images. Like I said, when you're talking about images, the first that should come to your mind is operating system. It is the image that makes the operating system available to you. All right, so this is what the image builder does. It helps you to automate the creation, so it does it automatically. Then it's AWS Launch Wizard. So this is size, configure, and deploy AWS resources for third-party application without having to manually identify and provision individual AWS resources. So this actually helps to size. It helps to make other makes AWS resources, being used with other third-party application without having to manually identify or provision. It makes all these things easier. You'll be able to use them together with themselves. Use applications that are not even related to AWS. You'll be able to use them together with AWS, and it is going to be seamless. The AWS System Manager performs operations at scale on EC2 instances with this secure end-to-end management solution. So it helps to perform. So it's like a system that helps to manage, operations of AWS. All right. So, and then there are other AWS compute services. You can see we can launch instances using another AWS compute service instead of EC2. So, we needed to just mention all these things so that you have at least a broad knowledge of where we're going to. You see that aside EC2, EC2 is not the only compute service that is available on AWS. We also have Amazon Light Sail, which it helps to say build website or web application using Amazon Light Sail, a cloud platform that provides the resources you need to deploy your project quickly for a low predictable monthly price. To compare to EC2, to compare EC2 and Light Sail, you can always check it out. And then there's also Amazon Elastic Container Service. It deploys, manage, and scales containerized application on a cluster of EC2 instances. So you can also check that out. Then we have Elastic Kubernetes Services. This runs Kubernetes application on AWS. So once you have Kubernetes application, you can easily use EKS. All right. So how do we access, Amazon EC2 instance? You can create and manage your instances. Is the following interface. You can use the console. There's a simple web interface to create and manage Amazon EC2 instances and resources. So if you have already, signed up, if you've already signed up for AWS account like we did, that we checked out the last course, you can access EC2 console, obviously. And then obviously this is it right here. All you just have to do, you don't even have to do anything much. Once you are right here, you can always say EC2. It makes it easy when you can, just you search, and then your EC2 is just right there in front of you. So it's better to always make use of the search if you know what you are trying to do. So that makes it easier. So you can see instances, you can see Amazon Elastic Cloud Compute, and then don't worry, let's just continue to see where we can stop tonight, because or today, depending on where you're watching from, I don't want us to always have too long videos, so that we can always, be able to catch up. All right. So you can access EC2 instances with the console. There is a simple web instance to create and manage your instance and resources. So if you have signed up for AWS account, you can. So this is the console right here. So once I say launch instances, this is the console where you can access. So you can see it is it right here. But then I want to see if we can read up, and then we can continue with that. Another way we can access AWS EC2 instance is through command line interface. So this enables to interact with our services using command line shells, commands on the command line shell. So it supports Windows, Mac, and Linux. So we'll check that out too. AWS Cloud Formation is another way to access EC2. You can use CloudFormation to access EC2. EC2 supports creating resources using CloudFormation, where you create a template in JSON or YAML format, and then that describes your AWS sources, and then the AWS CloudFormation provisions and configure those resources for you. So that is another way to access CloudFormation. It's like a template. You can always check that out later. And then we have AWS XDK. SDK is like a software development kit. So if you prefer to build applications using specific, application, like language specific application, like probably you want JavaScript, you want Python, you want a specific application, instead of submitting a request over HTTP or HTTPS, AWS provides libraries, sample code, tutorials, and even other resources for software developers. Through this SDK, you can actually, have like a specialized language that you want to use. AWS tools for PowerShell, a set of PowerShell modules that are built on functionality exposed by the XDK for .NET. Then we have the tools for PowerShell, enables you to script operation on your AWS sources from the PowerShell command line. So you can see we also can access AWS resources, or let's just say to instance, through PowerShell. All right, and then we also have query API. So we need to mention all this so that we can have a broad knowledge of what we're talking about, and then we keep narrowing it down. So AWS provides, a query API, right? That's application programming interface. It provides a query API, and then these requests are HTTP or HTTPS requests that use the ATP verbs get or post. It's like get request or a post request. Somebody that is a programmer, front and back end, will understand this better. And then it's a query and a query parameter named action. So, and then obviously you can also read it up. This is another way to access, EC2. Then when we talk about pricing for EC2 instance, there is one thing you have to understand whenever you're using resources on the cloud. For example, on AWS, there is already a pricing model, and then they would, once you start inputting, you want this, you want that, you want that, there is already a resources, price calculator that would calculate how much that you would need, to be able to get that resources. So there is a free tier, like you can see here, said free tier said in your first year of opening, you can see right here, in your first year of opening an AWS account, you get 750 hours per month of T2 dot micro instance. That's a kind of, that's a kind of, instance. And then you see T3. Then when you use your filter, and then you see you have access to 750 hours per month of public IP usage. You have 30 gig of EBS, right? Elastic block storage. And then you have 2 million IOs, you have 1 gig of snapshot shots, you have 100 gig of bandwidth to the internet. Data transfer charges are not included as part of the free tier. So you can see you have all these things. So that's that is, it can be free. That's the first thing you should know. It can be free. But then, aside the fact that it can be free, there is also another style of pricing, which is on-demand instance. It means you pay for the instance you use for the second. So within a minimum of 60 seconds, with no long-term commitment or upfront payment. So you pay immediately after using after using your EC2. That is another style, another pricing model. Then we have savings plan. You can reduce your cost by making a commitment to a constant amount of usage in USD per hour for a term of 1 or 3 years. So this is another style. Reserved instance. You can reduce your Amazon EC2 cost by making a commitment for a specific instant configuration, including instant type and region. Then we have instant sports, we have dedicated hosts, we have on-demand capacity, we have per second billing, and we have all those kinds of things. So you can see we have estimates. Like I said, there is always estimate, there is billing, there's also cost optimization. You would see all this, right there whenever you want to do it. All right. So now, how do we now get started with AWS? So AWS, how do we get started with AWS EC2 instance? So the first thing we'd see is that we've already been talking about some of the things that we need to know, right? And then we've talked about image, talked about key pair. Some of the things you should also know is network, which is one of the things we'll talk about later. Uh, it is after we get our system ready that will be able to actually be sure. Once we get our system ready, we'll be able to uh, talk about network. But then just a paraphrase is you have everything here. They said image is a template that contains software to run on your instance, such as operating system. I've said that earlier. A keeper is a set of security credentials that you use to prove your identity when connecting. So the public is on your instance, and the private is on your computer, right? So then we have the network, the VPC, which we'll talk about all the other time, is a virtual network dedicated to your AWS account. It's this one we'll be talking about it. We have so many things to check, especially when it comes to networking. It's a very interesting one. We have we have regions, we have routers, we have availability zone, all these stuff. So we're going to really check it through and understand. And then we have a security group, which acts as a virtual firewall to control inbound and outbound traffic. And then we have the EBS elastic block. You know, we have the EBS volume, so which helps us to, it's just like a storage location. So it requires a root volume for your image. You can optionally add data volume. All right, so these are the thing, and then look at it. This is exactly how it looks like when you do an instance. This is the mindset. This is like a logical view. This is what it looks like. You have the instance in the middle, security group surrounds it. Then we have a public net, subnet around it. Then you have availability zone, and this is your VPC, virtual private cloud, and then your EBS volume is somewhere you're looking. Here I am. This is like an image builder, and then you have region. So this is very, very, interesting. You ask me. So now let's quickly go to launching an instance. So of course, we would launch an instance right now, and then we'd see how it works, right? Okay, so that is the most important thing we'll be doing right now. So we need to launch the EC2 instance, and then would choose, would go right in, and then let's see how it works. Okay, so now let's go ahead and quickly launch an instance. All right, so the naming, like, if you remember, the first thing we do is to say EC2. You search, always learn to use a search bar. So once you search, it takes you to this page. Then you'd see the console, and then you come to, obviously you must have logged in, right? Look at me, I've already logged in here. And then you have the launch instance. To launch EC2 instance, you click on launch instance. So I just clicked on launch instance. So, and then you give it a name. So I can say my my first instance, right? My first instance. So you can say, call it my first instance, right? That's the name of the virtual machine that we're trying to launch. And then now this is application or OS image. Like I said, the Amazon machine image, this talk about the operating system that you want. So we can literally choose Linux, we can choose Mac OS, we can choose Ubuntu, we can choose Windows. You see, we have Red Hat, we have SUSE, Linux, we have Debian, and so on. You can obviously browse for more. We have so much. There's a place called the marketplace. You would see so many of them here. So, but then for this tutorial, I will be launching Ubuntu, which is so I'll be selecting Ubuntu. So I just selected Ubuntu. So I move straight ahead. After selecting Ubuntu, the next thing is you'd see to ask you which of the version, because we have all kinds of version. So Ubuntu Server 24.04, free tier, of course. Then we can also choose 22, right? So let's just go with the 22. There is no one we can use. We can use everything. Okay. So and then here you just say confirm changes. It's just telling you that because it's already set it to 24, when we change it, it's telling us that okay, some things will change, which is fine, right? So then the next thing is they already described that we have Ubuntu server 22.04 LTS. All right. So and then we'd see the architecture. You can choose 64-bit X8, then you can choose ARM, then wherever anyone, and then you can see username. It automatically gives you a username called Ubuntu. Please take note of that username. All right. So and then you have ID, right? Amazon uh, machine image ID. You have the ID. So instance type. So of course, let's just go with the 2t dot micro. That's the instant type. Then this is what I say when we say keeper. This keeper is what we use to log in into. So it has a security credential. So let's create a keeper. Create a keeper. So most times they just give it a name. You can say first instance keeper, right? For instance, keeper, and then RSA type, and then just choose your .def because it is open SSH we're trying to use, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to use PuTTY, you can obviously use this, but then most of the time it is for OpenSSH, which is .pem, right? So then the next thing you have, you just click on create. So once you say create, it creates a key pair, and then it goes on and on. You can see first instance key pair. You can see it's already downloaded on my system. So let's leave that there. So it's downloaded. So that's some security information. So let's go ahead. You have network setting. So here, if let's assume that we've already created a VPC, that we've configured, which we'll be doing in some other time. Talking about networking, we'd see that our networking can really, we have so much we can learn under the networking, because you decide what happens, right? So, but then let's just leave it like this. Auto assign public IP, yes, enabled, so that you can, because we can only access it on the internet through public IP, right? So then firewall, you can see this is the security group we're talking about. So it's like the container that holds all your work together. So it is like a firewall rules, controls everything. It really, really matters. So we can just create a security group, or we can select, existing one, right? So I don't know. Let me see. Okay, let's just go. Let's just go with a default one, so that I will not waste our time still trying to create security group. All right. So that's fine. So let's see. The storage, the configure storage. This is the EBS, where it we've talked about all this earlier on, so you can select which one you want, but then just let's just leave it the way it is. Then you have advanced, details. You can select all this stuff, that you can also select AIM instance profile, for it. You can do all kinds of things, or so many other settings. So, but then would leave the advanced details. I just wanted to show us all that. So once you're done with that, then you can also decide, okay, how many instances do you see? You can say, oh, I want two, but then we're doing just one. And then you'd see the summary here, and then once you're done with that, just hit launch instance. So you can see in split seconds your instance is ready. You can see successful. There is nothing so bogus or ambiguous about launching an instance, depending on the instance you want. So you can see there is successful instance. So I clicked on it, and then this is the instance details. The instance is launched, and it is running. You can see running. And then look at the IP, public IP address that we, this is the public IP address that we will be using, right, to access this on the internet, right? This Without this public IP address, nobody will be able to, access it over the internet, right? So, and then since we're done with creation, now we want to connect with it, right? So, and then like we said, there are so many, style, so many ways to connect to our EC2 instance. So, but then before we go, look at the summary. Before we do that, rather, look at the summary of what we just created. Now you can see we have, it's giving us information about all the stuff that it has somehow obviously automatically created for us. You can see so many information that are very, very useful, and you would not know it's useful until you need to obviously do something. And then you can see alarm monitoring. You can configure a cloud watch agent. to monitor it. You can add a security, you can add more security. Aside from all the security information, you can configure your network. You can check the storage out again. You can see it's a gig in use, and then you can also use your tags. So, but then let's just leave it at details. And then the next thing I want to do is instance state. You can see you can stop it from running, you can reboot it, and you can delete the instance. Let's check action. You have so many things. You have instance settings. You can see networking, security, image and template, monitor and troubleshoot. So there's so many things you can do on instance. But then as it stands, you can see the instance state. This particular instance that we have is running. So let me click on it so you can see where it says running. So you can see my first instance, and then it is what it is running. You can see running. So it is currently running. So the next thing we want to do is connect. When you click on connect, you can see the ways to connect with this instance. You can connect using public IP. You can see, then you can connect using private IP. All right. Then you can see this is the public IP 3.88.100.164, right? Then you can see that the username is Ubuntu. You have to take note of all that. Okay. So then you can see some other ways that you can use. You can see session manager, right? You can see SSH clients. So it even tells you how to do it. Do you see? Open SSH client, locate your private key, and then run the command connect. So these are ways to connect. Then you can see Sierra console, right? So you can see saying account is not authorized to use Sierra console. Of course, we can obviously tweak all these things right here, right? So, but then let me just stay here and just say connect using public IP, right? So I'll click on connect. EC2 instance connect. So you can see we're already trying to establish connection with our Ubuntu that we just created. Right now. Let's see, maybe network. Let's try again. Reservation stage connection. Let me see. Uh, okay, if that doesn't work, we can always use other means, right, to connect. So we're going to be using. Let's open our VS Code. Okay, let's open VS Code. We're going to be using, you can use our terminal, right, to access it so that we can see. But then it's currently running, and then we only need to know, you only need to try to, connect with it, right? So, all right. So I'm waiting for my VS Code to, to go into my terminal. Um, okay, so let me go to my terminal. Just give me a minute. I'm trying to open up my terminal so that we can be able to see. All right, so we can be able to see how to we can be able to see what we need to do to be able to, or I can be able to see how to connect, because what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to get a way to get us in, and I'm trying to use a terminal. Okay, so Okay, so why that loads? Let's see other things so that I will not delay ourselves. Um, let's see, I'm just loading my, trying to load up my, what's the name again? My VS Code. So just give me a minute. Okay. Okay, let me see if it is up. So okay, now let's quickly get the command. So I need a command to, easily, the command to connect to, so there's it, SSHI. Okay, so let's copy this command. So some of the things we're going to be doing is that we're supposed to do some changes, change mode and all this stuff. So we have some changes we're supposed to do to to I use the key pair because remember we downloaded a key pair and then we're supposed to simply use the key pair to access, right, just through a command. So uh, we're going to be doing that very shortly. I'm just trying to make sure everything runs smoothly. All right. So let's just follow me. Okay. So now let's go to let's quickly go to our let's go to our terminal. Let's do git bash. Let's go to our git bash. I'm going to Let's go to our git bash. Let me put the screen on the git bash so that we can see my uh, VS code. All right, so by now you should be seeing my terminal so that we can quickly connect with the instance. All right, so the first thing we want to do is to work on that mode. That's what's the name now? The key pair. We want to work on that key pair, right? We want to work on the key pair. So the first thing we're going to do is that we're going to run a command which says SSH, is just follow me, minus hi, okay, and then we have this, and then we have forward slash, we have dot SSH forward slash, and then we have the name, which is the name of our key pair. Remember, the name of the key pair is first instance key pair, right? So instance first instance I don't want us to get confused with all this stuff out there. First instance key pair, okay, so dot pem. So we're trying to access we're trying to access the key pair. Okay, I think before we do this, we have to move the key pair to a safe location. So that's the first thing. Sorry about that. Let's quickly do that first. Then move. Then now my key pair is in downloads. Is in my downloads. Okay. And then what's the name of my key pair? First, first instance, right? Key pair, right? If you remember, first instance key pair dot dot pel, right? So and then we have we have forward slash dot ssh and forward slash. So we're trying to move it to a more secure location. Press enter. Okay, saying uh, destination is missing. Okay, so just give me a minute. Let's quickly use ChatGPT to correct this my command. Looks like I'm missing out on some details. All right, so just give me a minute. Uh, so normally I was not prepared to use this. So I was not prepared to use the terminal. I was just preparing to do it directly online. So, but then it started messing up. So, but then we have to access the running instance, right? So, okay, so let's see. I think I have a corrected version. Let's clear the screen. Let's paste. You can see first I'm trying to confirm the name because it has to be the name that I used. Okay, first instance, first instance key pair, first instance key pair dot pm. All right, so let's launch it again. It's saying cannot move to this no such file. Okay, look like I'm making a mistake. So it's always good we do all this together so that it see that okay, we really need to we can. Okay, so the first thing I think I missed a line. Let's clear it again. So we're supposed to first create a folder called this directory called .ssh. Okay, so now that I've done that, now we'll now rerun that now. So you can see it worked. So the reason why it gave the error is because this folder was not created initially. So let's take note. Also, it's okay to get errors when doing all this so that we can learn. Because if there are no error, if everything is just going smoothly, you think that everything is always smooth. Okay, so but then next thing I want to do is to uh, change the mode. So which is most times we can do change mode. We can do change mode 600. So let's do that. So that press enter. So we can see that. So after we should be able to connect. But then let me see how we set this to be able to connect to SSH. It looks like probably we didn't give it SSH setting, but then let's try it first. Then if we get any more error, then we can always, shoot back to go and, correct whatever is missing, right? So the next thing I want to do is to write there was a command I was writing the other time, which is SSH. Mhm. Then we have minus high. Then we have this, we have dot SSH forward slash. Then we have first, which is the name of our. So I'm doing this one by one so that we can really see how it's being done. So uh, keep it right. That's the name. Dot pem. Huh? Then space. Remember our username. Botu. Then at. Then the public address. Remember the public address. Then I copied it. This is that public address that we're given. So let's see how it looks. Press enter. Let's see if we can access our Ubuntu. Waiting for it to give me access. We don't have network issues. Okay, seeing port 22 connection timeout. Okay, let's check. So I feel like we didn't set it. We didn't set it to be able to connect to port 22 because we're supposed to. Since we want to use port 22, we should uh, make sure that it can connect to port 22, right? So I think that is the issue that we are having right now. We overlooked a position, a place where we're supposed to set. So let's quickly redo it one more time. So let's stop this instance and then let's quickly create another instance. Okay, so let's go back to our browser to quickly recreate another instance. Okay. All right, so let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. Okay, just give me a minute. Trying to load things up. So we need to be able to do that, right? We really need to be able to walk, like check, you know, and make sure that everything is all right. Okay. So while that loads, let's see what we got. Okay, so let's see what we got. We have, so I think we can see it now, right? So now let's quickly recreate another one. I need us to recreate another, then we'll now try to do one last time so that we can be sure everything is good. All right, so let's see. EC2, then remember we already have instance running, so let's view dashboard. It should say one instance running. Let's go there. Let's go delete, you mark it, and then come to actions, um, instance states rather, and then terminate. So terminate instance, terminate, just say delete. Okay, so it's going to terminate it. So let's refresh. So we're going to quickly create another one. So I think that the issue we had is that we didn't create, we didn't give it an option where it's supposed to allow us. We didn't select that option so that it can allow us to do SSH. Okay, so let's do it again. My first instance, right? And then we said Ubuntu, right? And then we let's just leave it whatever we have here. Let's just leave it. I'm more interested in making sure we get that network paths better now. So we can use the same key pair, right? So we have allow. So we have allow SSH. So let's allow all these stuffs. So yeah. So and then so I think this is where we made a mistake, right? So let's create another key pair so that we don't risk that. Let's say second instance key pair, right? So let's copy that. We need it right now. So let's create that. Okay, that's very good. So now next thing we'll just say launch instance. Okay, let's quickly do that. So after that, the next thing we want to do is that we want to check it out. Let's see if it's now running. Okay, good. So it's still pending. Let's see. Let's refresh. Okay, still pending. It's not running yet. Okay, it's now running. So my first instance is now running. All right, let's refresh. Okay, very good, running. Okay, so now let's try to now connect to it again. So let's click on it to get the IP that we're connecting to. This is the IP we're connecting to. Just copy the IP. So let's start again. So so the first thing we did was we created this, we made this, right? We made this key pair, and after making it, we continued by we moved it to a secure location. Remember, this time around it is a second, we use second, right? Then the next thing is that we change the mode. This time around we did 400, we did 400, and then we said that it is what second instance, right? So that's what we did. And then the next thing we did this, we came here, we said second, and then the IP, the new IP is 554, and then we said enter. When we said enter, boom, we should be in. You can see we are in. Let's clear the screen to see how space. You can see we're inside our Ubuntu. When you print working directory, it tells you an home and Ubuntu. So that is it. That will be it for tonight. I hope we have learned a lot. Let's enjoy the rest of the evening. Next time we'll be talking further on what you can do with our VM, and then we'll also be saying some other things. So then finally, last thing I want to show us is that whenever we are done, right? Whenever we are done with Ubuntu, I mean, whenever we are done with your VM, if you know you'll not be using it for that time anymore, the best thing you can do is to actually is that you delete the instance, or you delete the instance, or you continue, you probably you stop it at least, so that, because remember, everything is money, everything is money. And if you don't take care, you would soon find out that um, everything, your money keeps reading, and then You'll be wondering how did your money keep reading, but then you are the one that refused to stop. The instance you can see, if we did not stop it, you keep running till forever. And then since we are done with it, what we want to do is to, since we're not going to use it, just click on it and then instance state, and then you say stop instance. All right, so just say stop. So that will be it for today. Next time would continue from here. You can see initiated successfully stopped. All right, so we'll continue from where we are. Let's have a wonderful night. I hope we had a nice time. Thank you everyone for joining. Let's comment, let's subscribe, let's add. What do you learn? What have you learned so far? All right, let's enjoy the rest of the day.